All right, I think we'll get things started here. Good morning, I'm Matt Schwegler with the Infrared Training Center. Thank you for joining us for today's tutorial on the basics of FLIR Thermal Studio template design. We've got Paul Frisk and Jason Gagnon on. We'll be going through the presentation here today. Before we start, just want to cover a few housekeeping items. I'm going to share a quick presentation. We are recording today's broadcast. If you'd like to watch this again at a later date, we'll have this up on our YouTube channel here a little bit later today at youtube.com/infraredtraining. You can access this presentation and a number of others that are also on our YouTube channel. I should mention we're very active on social media. We've got Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We've got more topics coming up here in the next 24 hours. We'll be on tomorrow with Ron Lucier and optical gas imaging. That'll be at 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. We're also doing more of these throughout the month of April. So you can join us here on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Instagram to hear the latest updates on what those topics are going to be. And we'd love to have you join us. I should mention also our website, infraredtraining.com/schedule. The plan right now is to return to live training classes here in May. You can see all those dates listed there. This is for the US and Canada. And for our fellow thermographers that are based in Europe, the Middle East, or Africa, irtraining.eu is where you can find a list of courses in those regions. And I should also mention here, before we go any further, that we are developing an online course, and we're going to have a soft launch of this here later this month, and then more widely available in May. This is for U.S. classes or U.S. residents that want training, certification training. It's a full level 1 online course, and the plan is to roll that out there more widely throughout May and beyond, and eventually expand into Canada with that. If you want to learn more, if you want more information, go to actually an email address here, info@infraredtraining.com. You can email us and get on a list if you're interested in joining us, again, for our new online level 1 thermography certification course. So very exciting. Looking forward to launching this here, and that'll be coming up here in the next several weeks. Before that, however, we're going to get into an overview of the template design here with FLIR Thermal Studio. And with that, I've got Jason Gagnon joining us, as well as Paul Frisk from our Canadian office. Good morning, gentlemen.
Right.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Today's session is going to focus primarily on the template design and the reporting aspect of Thermal Studio. I don't really have anything formal planned as far as PowerPoints or anything like that. I thought we could just explore some of the features of Thermal Studio and how to go about creating a new template. Templates, the right template really depends on a lot of different things. Depends on the type of inspections that you do, how you use the cameras. There's a lot of factors to consider, so it's very difficult to do a one-size-fits-all kind of a class like that. But sort of the goal here, I guess, is to just show you where to find some settings that you might be able to take advantage of. You know, how to add an image, how to add some tables. You know, I did tech support for a long time, so we would get a lot of questions about how to predefine like spot meters on an image, or how to predefine text annotations. And if you've used the software, the older software, it was done a certain way for a while. It's done slightly different. You can accomplish that if you want to. It's just a slightly different approach. So we'll try to touch on that too. It's very difficult to answer everybody's questions in this type of session. That's why happy to have Paul Frisk on. He's ITC manager in Canada, very, very knowledgeable about the software. So both he and Matt will be fielding the chat questions. And if there's anything topical that comes up, you know, feel free to interrupt Matt and just put it out there if it's something that other people could benefit from. All right, so I guess we can get started. So if you were with us last week, we talked a lot about the library, right, and how to edit images and measure temperatures and save changes. And I mentioned the UI and how kind of things are laid out with these tabs. So we spent some time in the library tab and in the batch processing tab, which I will come back to a little bit later. But for now, I want to focus on the reporting tab. And there are a couple ways you can go about it. If you want to just start a new template, just start from scratch and build it up from there. There's actually a shortcut on the home page to accomplish that. This here will create a new reporting template. You can also do it if you're on the reporting tab under new, this menu here, and then go to create a new reporting template. They're the exact same function, just two different ways to get to the same place. So I'm just going to click this, and there you go. So that's where you begin. Just a blank page. So from there, you can build it up and add what you want, specifically what you want. So you're not bound to a certain format or anything that, you know, with FLIR Tools. FLIR Tools has been around for a while. It's got some templates, so to speak, but they're fixed format. You can't really rearrange the format permanently. So with this, you can design it exactly the way you want. You know, you can put a thermal image on the page, a photo, tables. You can configure the tables. So it's very versatile in that sense. And you can have, you know, front and back pages. So right now, it starts with just a single blank page. And you can add pages down at the bottom. There's a plus to add a page. There's an X to delete a page. And this allows you to change to a different template if you want to edit a template. So, but we don't want to do that. We want to just build a new template. So usually you're going to have at least one thermal image in your reports, right? So it's a good place to start, is the insert image group. So this is where we can insert a thermogram, just a thermal image placeholder, and a place for the photo. And the way this works, it's different from Word. You know, we use Word for a long time for our reporting, for our thermography reports with Reporter 7 and Reporter 9 and so on. With this, it doesn't use any Microsoft products. It's a standalone product. And the white space here is like a page space. It's not like, things don't go in line. You can't type directly into the white space. So it's different from Word. It's more like, this goes back a ways, but if anybody remembers Reporter 2000, this is a lot like that in the way that it works, and the way that you lay things out on the page. They just float. So you just drag it to where you want it. There it goes, right? So that sets the placeholder for the thermal image and the photo. Now, you typically want to show some information about the image, and that is accomplished using these tables. I think I touched on this briefly during last week's session. There are a couple different types of tables. You can add an empty table, which you have to build row by row by row. You can link it to image information if you want to, but the predefined tables, I would recommend using these if you can. It's just easier. If you're putting tables on the page that are going to show information about the image, like camera information, lens type, serial number, temperature information, GPS data, measurement data, it's all preset in these formats. And it's grouped by categories, but you're not bound to that category. Like, you can mix and match them once it's on the page. So you could start with a camera information table, and then you just have to put it where you want it. All right. And so the default basically shows you the default settings, the camera model and serial number, all that stuff. But it's fully customizable. So you can right click anywhere on this table, and there is an add row function and a remove row function. So if you don't want the serial number, you can just remove that, remove this, and then you can add things to it. So if you want to put the file name in this table, you can do that. You could put anything from any of these categories in this table. Okay. And then you can change the order. So you can move the row up and down. So you can see that once it's on the page, you have a lot of flexibility with the information that it shows and how it shows it on the page. And so that is one of the predefined tables. Now, in particular with measurements, it's a lot easier to work with this type of table than it is with an empty table or even like a field. Because if you do it with either of those functions, you have to put in the name of the measurement function specifically. But if you do it with this predefined table, it's more dynamic. It's more like the old results tables, again, going back to the older software, where you could just say, show all my spots. And then it would just watch the image, and whatever happened on the image, it would react to that. If you add a spot, it adds a row. This table works just like that. And if you look, anytime you have something selected on the page, the table on the side changes to be specific to whatever you have selected. So these are all the settings for like background color and border and all that type of thing, those type of things. For the measurements table, I have to widen that a little bit. There we go. Down in this area here, there are check marks to show spot meters and show lines and rectangles. So this tells that table what to show, basically. So if you don't ever want to show polygons, you can uncheck that. And then even if there's one in the image, it will never show it in the table. Okay. So that's what really makes this table easy to work with respect to measurements. So again, it's just under the predefined table category. You know, you have parameters. It's another one. Object parameters, GPS data, text annotations, measurements. We talked about document properties. So there's a lot of stuff there. And again, you can combine things. You can right click, you can add a row. You know, you might want to combine some of your parameters with your measurements table. Something like that. Okay. Now, another thing to keep in mind, since you can't type onto the page directly, if you want to leave a little space available for notes or additional comments, it's a good idea to use this text box. Which we can position here. Something like that. And this text box you can use anywhere. You can use it on front pages, back pages. It's just a text box. It's very, very basic. But again, going back to that table on the side, this has all your font controls. So if you want to increase the size or change the font style, it's all done through this table on the side. So this is where you can center it. So it's obviously, you know, we're so used to using Word with all the, you know, the buttons and everything's up top. Well, this is a little different. So anything related to these fonts and the style of the text in the text box, it's all over on the side here. If you click on the page itself, you know, not on any specific object, there are different page style or page sizes, I guess, to choose from. Right, so that's where you could choose between letter and A4, portrait, landscape, and so on. It just resizes the page space to match that style. Okay. The default, also, just going back there for 1 second, the default setting is to always show the page number, which is generally preferred. But if you didn't want that, you could uncheck that checkbox, and then it wouldn't show it. But generally, the page number is desired because that's often shown in a summary table. This does have a summary table. We haven't added a front or back page yet. Before I go too far, let me save this. So we'll go to Save As Template. All right. Okay. So in order to add additional pages, I mentioned this earlier, we have the Add Page, Remove Page buttons. So I can add another blank page. And if I want to use that as a front page, I can just drag it. Now it's a front page. It's that simple, really. It's only going to populate the pages with images that have the placeholder for the thermal image. And you know, the photo, with all the cameras that we have now, it has the embedded photo, and it knows enough to extract that out. You know, so you don't need a separate photo. So if you have like a T500 or an E-series camera with the embedded, with the MSX, you know, it will know enough to extract the photo out of it and put it into the report when you create the report, if it sees the placeholder there. Going back to the front page, you can use the text box on the front page if you want to put some information, company information, put your name, your contact information, something like that. Okay. Text box works the same as what we used on the IR page. There we go. Now the summary table is right in the same table group. So if you're unfamiliar with how this works, it just creates an automatic summary of all the images in your report, and you can customize what it's summarizing on. So with a lot of the tables that we work with, it's sort of, you control what rows it shows, right? So that's, you right click and it's add or remove a row. With the summary table, you choose, oops, I think I rearranged it here. With the summary table, you choose the columns that you want to show, and the columns relate to image information.
Jason, I just had a question that came in from Tina about asking, how do you add a logo?
Oh, logo. 1 second. I forgot about the logo. Let me do that real quick and I'll come back to the summary table. The logo is added, it's called a shared image. It's a little bit different from what we've done before, but it's in the image category. So with thermogram and the photo, there's something called shared image. So we can go to insert logo image from there. And then on the right, you can pull this down and go to Browse. And then I can go and find my logo. Desktop. There we go. Just pick the, there we go. Okay. Just put that up there. Now, once the picture is set, I can go up here and just insert logo image, and it remembers it. And then if you replace it, it replaces it throughout the document. Okay. All right, that's basically it. Just under shared image, and then insert it, and then over here on the right in that panel on the right, that's where you can configure it or change it. You know, if you want to switch this out, you just go to Browse again, pick a different picture.
I had Jason, another Jason who's on asking, is there a maximum image size for the logo file?
Probably. I don't know. Don't know specifically. But I would probably have to look into that if you need to know specifically. You got to remember it's going to be relatively small on the page anyway. And you know, if you're PDFing these, there's some loss on the PDF too. But
Any issues with file format, PNG, JPEG? I guess all universal, pretty standard.
Yeah, pretty much. I think under Browse it shows, yeah, all the typical, I should say, formats, JPEG, bitmap, PNG, anything shown there should work okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. Okay. So let me get back here to the summary table, because I think this is a feature that a lot of people use, and we would get a lot of questions on in support. This, like I said, it's often used on a front or back page, and the template has just two rows: the title row and then the actual item that it's going to display. What you can do is right-click, and you can add a column or remove a column. So if you add 10 images to your report, you'll have 10 rows in this summary table, all reporting on the information from the image on that particular page. So that's why it's good to have the page number, because this is used often in the summary table. So you can right-click, go to Add Column, and you'll recognize these categories. These are the same categories that we had when we added the table to the IR page. So you have camera information, you have annotations, you have measurements. Now, if you want to show measurements in this table, you have to know precisely which measurement you want to show. So if you want to show SP1, spot 1, you have to type the name of the spot really specifically in the summary table, which is okay if you always use a spot, or if you know that's the spot that's the only tool you're going to want to summarize on. So you could just say SP1, but you got to make sure you get it exact. Get overflowed a little bit here. Okay. There is no SP1 currently on the image. can stretch these out a little. There we go. Yeah, we're just a little cramped. All right.
Hey, Jason, while we're here, we have Andy Wichter on
Yep.
joining us as well.
Oh,
He had a
great.
question that I was going to have him ask live if we have a moment to take it.
Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Welcome, Andy.
Let's see. Let's see if I can have him talk. I'll unmute him.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, chaps.
Afternoon.
Yeah. Hi, Jason.
Hey,
Actually, two short questions, I hope.
Okay.
Firstly is about the, you said about the logos, and you've shown us how to add logos, but can we add other graphic files as things like diagrams, sketches, flowcharts, things like that?
You can add them. You should be able to add them as a photo.
Okay.
Gentlemen, it's Paul. Most likely they'll have to be in a standard picture format, though. In other words, we won't be able to pull in a raw, say, sketch from a sketching program.
Yeah, I'm talking about things like bitmaps, PNG format, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You should be able to add them as just a photo. Although I think what you would have to do is use the external option here.
Okay, I'm talking about on not so much on the title page or the summary page, but on the individual item pages, if you like.
You know what? I might have to check on that.
Okay. All right. Second question then is in the summary table, which you were just looking at.
Yeah.
You're building that so it will refer to each individual page. Can you use it to refer to sections of the report, a bit like chapters, so that if you have a group of images on, say, one piece of equipment and then another group of images on another piece of equipment, can we look at the group heading for that, or do we have to only do it by individual image?
It's, to my knowledge, it's only by image.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. I can't think of any way to.
Okay, I was just wondering if you tagged it, if there was a field that you could tag as being contained within the summary table, that kind of thing.
Right. Let me think about it a little bit. I don't think it's possible, but there may be a way, or maybe something that's planned for the future, something a little more dynamic.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. Thanks, Jason.
Cool. All right. Okay. All right. So, why don't we start with this here? So we have a.
Pardon me, Jason. I want to cut in for 1 second. I just want to make sure your screen is still sharing. I looks like that on my end here. I just want to. We had an internet bandwidth got a little unstable there for a moment.
Yeah, it did. It did kind of blink on me. Let me see. I'm not seeing. 1 minute. Okay. Better?
Yeah, there we go. Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so we have a cover page here. We set our logo. We set up a summary table. It's currently going to summarize on the file name, the date created, a spot temperature value, maximum temperature for the image, and the page number. We'll just see how that looks. And then on the IR page, we have the thermal image, the matching photo, a couple of tables that we configured, and a comments box. So since I already saved it, I'm just going to hit save to update it. And then I'm going to close the template. And then click previous to go back to my template list. And you do get a handful of templates to start out with. Typically these 4 will come with it. This is the new one that I just created. So I'm going to select that template. So we just highlight it, click select. Now that brings us to the image step. So we can just select some images and drag and drop them over to this page list. And you can see the cover pages there, and then it will gradually build the image pages based on that template style. And then if we go to the next step, now we have the report. So it's very fast creating the reports. So you can see how the summary table works, right? So it reads, the only image that has a spot on it is this one here, 1033. And as we click through them, you can see a lot of them don't have any measurements whatsoever. This one has a couple of area boxes, which we can see in the measurements table. So we have BX1 and BX2, but not in the summary table because we didn't set it up to show that. And then this one has 2 spots. So if we were to add a spot meter here, which you can do, so you can edit the images anytime you're in a report if you double click on the image. Brings up the image editor. This is the same image editor you can access in the library. And then we can add a spot, say down here, click save. We can close that. So we see it here, about 37C, right in this table. And now we see it in the summary table. So you can sort of pre-program the summary table to react to what's going to happen on the image pages as you analyze them. Now, if we go back, let me go back to the template. You may, whoops, go to previous. So anytime you want to edit a template, just right click, go to edit on that menu. That kind of effectively opens it. So now we're in the template. There may be cases where you want a little more control over the template itself. So if you wanted to have, say, predefined measurements, if you always want to have 2 spot meters in your template, so they're always there in the report, you can do that. If you select this placeholder here, there's a check mark in that panel on the right to use measurements from template. This is a lot like the predefined analysis settings that we used to have in the old software. With that checked, it's going to ignore what's in the image and use what's in the template. Now, predefined tools, even though it's not a real image, you can still double click on it and add spots to it if you just want them to be there. Right? So this way, when you make a report, it's kind of going to put the image behind the spots, if you want to think of it that way. The spots will always be in the same XY positions on every single page. And then you can go in and you can move them around and position them properly. But it's a good way to kind of know what information is showing on your page. So, you know, you can kind of proof it in a way. So you know that this table is going to show SP1 and SP2. You can go up and check the summary table. Okay, that's linked up right, it's showing SP1. So when you get into these types of features, it really depends on how you use the cameras. And if you're recording a lot of information in the camera, it's like if you're positioning the spots in the cameras and you want to recreate that in the software, then you probably wouldn't want to use that checkbox because it's going to ignore what you did in the camera. If you're just focusing and taking snapshots and not doing a lot of analysis in the camera, then you might want to look at this. These are things that may or may not save you time. It really, really depends on how you go about this process. The purpose here is just to kind of show you what's possible. Doing it this.
Here, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, we had first from Sasha, a couple questions related to this aspect about adding 1 or 2 more spots. Obviously you can add more than 2, right? Is there a limit, a maximum number of spots you can add?
There's probably a practical limit as far as how many you could actually fit on the image, but I don't know specifically.
David was asking then about, is there a hot box option, hotspot? You get all the full tools, features, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yep, you have all the full tool set, yeah. It's anything you could add to a real image, you could add to this. And, since we're talking about this, you can insert an image into a template if you want to really position things a certain way. Again, it goes back to what kind of inspections you do and what you're inspecting. If you're looking at the same items and you want to almost like do a trend or something of a certain piece of equipment, you want to have the tools all kind of preset. You could go to Browse over here and insert an image into the template to use it. So for instance, something like this. So if you wanted to position, say, an area up here and a spot there, maybe a spot over here, you can use that image almost as a template for your template. So you put them where you want them to be. Yes. Okay. And then with that checked, it will use those measurement functions for your report. Right, so it doesn't have to just be the kind of placeholder image. You can put a real image in the template.
How about annotations at this point? Joel was asking about adding annotations from your image to the report.
Well, from the image, if they're already in the image, that's easy. That is one of those predefined tables. Go back to here, there's actually a table for text annotations specifically. So you could put that in your template. This image actually has some, this image I'm using in the template. So if you just want to show them, that's pretty easy. If you want to predefine them in the template, that gets slightly more complicated because you can't really do it in the template. You can use the batch functions to accomplish that. So is that the question, or? Oh, okay, I guess. Matt, let me know.
It looks like it looks like we got it. I think
okay.
That appears to address it.
Okay, cool.
Robert was asking in chat there, can you have picture-in-picture, 2 IR images on one page? You can have multiple images on each.
Oh,
picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It will just do like R1, R2. Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so let's just see how this looks. Well, actually, before we do that, let me go up here. Let me alter this slightly and remove the maximum temperature column. And we can add, what do we have?
Looks like, Jason, we're breaking up a little bit on your end with bandwidth. I don't know if, Paul, if you're hearing the same thing. Maybe it's on my end, but I just want to make sure that we're still on.
No, I'm getting as if he's talking underwater.
Okay.
Okay, it's better now.
Better now?
Nope.
All right.
Phasing in a little bit in and out, Jason, but for the most part, good.
Okay.
Just kind of dropped out for a few seconds there.
Okay. So all I did was add, one column here. So let me just save this template. So again, just to remember, I'm going to use the measurements from the template. So when I add images, it's going to ignore any measurements that are on the image. I had a couple. Okay, so I have a couple here that have some. So this image has a spot in a box. This image has a line. So let me just, for the sake of simplicity, I'll use those two. Although I got to go back to the right step. Let me go back to reporting. The temp.
Hey, Jason, I don't know if you can hear me again. Unfortunately, it sounds like you did drop out on that end. Sounds like a bandwidth or a connection problem. I don't know if you're still on.
Yeah, possibly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay.
While we're waiting, Robert was asking about units and changing units, and just like with FLIR Tools and FLIR Tools Plus, you should have all the options for units, for Fahrenheit and Celsius and whatnot.
Yeah, that's all on the from the Home tab on the settings menu. You can find all the regional settings for language, units. It's all there. Yeah.
Andy's asking, what is F? What is F? I'm sorry, we're speaking in different languages.
Hey, Andy, I call that fake units here in Canada.
Well, you can find it all under the Home tab if you're interested. Okay. So, as you can see, I guess the point is that you do have that level of versatility with this, and it really depends on how you do your inspections, whether that's advantageous to you. To predefine things like text annotations, I know that comes up sometimes. The way that the templates work, they, oops, let me close this out. They don't have the ability to do that in the template, but with the batch processing functions, you do have the ability to add. And so the way this would work, if you wanted all the images to have labels preset and you're not using the template in the camera, so if you wanted all your images to have location and equipment and all those labels ready to go, so you can put them in a summary table, they can be added sort of predefined in a sense in this batch function. So you can add the label and then run the batch and then make the report from the output of the batch function. An easier way to go about that, if you have an image that already has that, you can actually use this to do two things.
Hey, Jason, sorry to cut back in again. It sounds like the bandwidth is continuing to be a little bit
Yeah.
stubborn here today. It is a bit windy here in New England, and I'm not sure if it's related to the storm that's off the coast, but there is a little bit of a disruption there with that. Sounds like you're back. It's intermittent, but it is cutting out
Yeah.
for
Okay.
segments.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, while I've cut in here, maybe I can ask you right away. Joel was asking about formulas. Are we going to have time to go into that today, or do you want to do that on a separate topic?
Not today. Yeah. We'll have to do a separate session on that, I think, at some point.
Yeah, Jason and I talked about doing an advanced template webinar. Some of these features that are, Joel, I know you're anxious. Give me a call later. We can talk.
Good, great.
Yeah, if any specific technical questions you can send over to the support team at support.flir.com. They can help you work through any real specific questions or needs or anything like that, or problems if you have any problems with the software.
We're coming up. It's 11:50.
So
I want to check in. I don't know if given the bandwidth concerns.
Just noticed.
Yeah. Do you want? How much longer do you want to take it, or your call?
Let me just show this one thing here, and then we can probably wrap it up. Just to finish this thought, with the images, you have a way, and we did touch on this last week a little bit, but I just want to mention this here since we're talking about text annotations and predefining some of these things. You can create a batch job from an image, and you can use this to both kind of lay out your measurement functions if you want, and also to have those labels predefined and ready to go if you want that. What you have to do if you want to, obviously you have to add the labels, the text labels. If you want to use measurements here, you have to just place them where you want them to be. Save the image and create a job from that image. And then that jumps into the different things to the batch. And then the first things you can see are the spot meters. So it adds 2 meters and the text labels. The rest of it, if you're not interested, you can just delete them. So if that's all you want, then that'll do it. So the next step, we can add a couple of images. I'll try to make this quick. Next, and start process. We go back to the library folder. Oops, let me go back in. Sorry. Just got to open it again. There we go. So these 2 images now have the spots. Template. Select template before proceeding. All right, select. So both have those labels. So if you've done this before in the older software, you use in the template, all the labels, they were all there. So you'd basically go to each page, type everything in that you wanted, and that was it. So with this software, if you're used to doing it that way, you set it up in the batch and run this first, and then make the report with the template, and it fills everything in.
It sounds like you
is
dropped out again there, Jason. Sorry to
yeah.
come back in.
When you're editing the image, you use the text annotation templates. Have preset templates. You can populate these labels. So we're probably going to have to stop it there. If we do an advanced session, I think we could talk about things like text labels, text annotation templates, and some of these maybe more advanced features that we're limited on time. There's a lot that you can do with this software. Hopefully that gave you an idea of some of what you can do and some of the features that you could explore. That might be a little time. I think we can probably end it there and take some questions, Matt.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me share my screen here.
Okay.
Give people an opportunity to send questions in. If you want to use the Q&A panel or the chat window, please feel free to do that. And we'll take those questions here in a moment for both Jason and for Paul. Before we get to that, just want to wrap up with a few housekeeping items. Just again, mentioning that we have recorded today's presentation. I'll have it posted to our YouTube channel here a little bit later this afternoon. If you go to youtube.com/infrared training, you can access this as well as several other webinars that we have listed there. It's under the infrared webinar playlist on our YouTube channel. So browse those titles if you want. We're also very active on social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We've got a number of other webinars that are coming up this month. Next week, right now, we're planning on one for IR and the fire service. We'll probably do electrical safety, a number of other topics. If you want a topic you might want us to put on, send us a chat here. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe there's a title that you would like to see here in the next few weeks, because we'll be doing this every week here throughout the month of April, at least one or two of these live events. And then I should have again mentioned the schedule for US and Canada. The plan at the moment is to return to live certification training here in May. For those courses for May and beyond, you can go to infraredtraining.com/schedule. And then for our fellow thermographers that are based in Europe, the Middle East or Africa, irtraining.eu is where you can find a list of classes in your region. And as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be launching an online level 1 thermography certification class here. We've got a soft launch coming later this month, and then starting in May, we'll sort of roll that out further. For the moment in the US, but we'll be expanding to Canada. If you want to learn more about that, you can drop us an email at info@infraredtraining.com. All right. I think we had some questions that might have come in. I'll sort of leave this to Paul and Jason if you just want to handle these and maybe take a few of these, and then we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
I'll stop sharing there. That way you can get back into the software, Jason, if you need it. I think looking at the questions here, more questions regarding templates. Can you share the templates? Are they only available on the PC that you're using? This is coming from Thomas. I guess, how's a way that you can share these files with other computers?
Can email them. They're just files on your PC. It's obviously a unique format, but you can share them.
So Robert was asking about the temperature. I'm assuming it's maybe the scale or perhaps the number covering up part of the image. Can you move that temperature scale outside of the IR image?
Well, you can. There's a way to get around that. There is, or was. A check mark for the, but I'm not. There was a way to disable the scale in the image. Sorry, I'm not seeing where that is right now. I might have to get back to you on that one. Why am I?
think he was looking maybe not.
You can add this.
More so, could you move it? Was Robert
Well, what I was going to show you is you can add like this, add the scale here, but I think you shouldn't have to do.
And we could always look that up and get back to Robert offline, or Paul. Do you know of anything on that end, Paul? Or
yeah, it should be.
I found it.
You found it. It should be on the overlay. Go ahead.
It's right above where it says overlay. Right here, it says show scale. There's a check mark there. I just missed. I didn't.
Jason, you're not showing you're not showing your computer screen.
Yeah, that would help. Thanks, Paul. There, that's probably easier.
Don't see anything yet.
Can you? Okay. Does that look okay now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, this little check mark right over here.
So right off on the right hand side there.
Yeah, it toggles.
I got the thumbs up from Robert. It's exactly what he was looking for. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because you can add a scale over off, kind of off the image, off to the side. So, all right.
A question coming in. This is from Bill Schwan, our instructor, Bill Schwan, asking just maybe we can chat in here. Best place to go for support, email addresses, phone numbers, things like that.
That would be support.FLIR.com for any.
In the chat window here. As Jason mentioned, support.FLIR.com is where you can actually open a support ticket as well. Ask any questions you want about the software.
There's regional contact information too. That's homepage for any technical support type issue.
Yeah, lots of good information there. Of course, the camera specs, software downloads, all sorts of good stuff.
Manuals, a lot of documentation. Yeah. Also, our ITC's YouTube channel has a lot of training videos. So, adding more to that catalog over time too.
Yeah, it's youtube.com/infrared training. And if Jason mentioned, he's got a number of videos that he's produced up there on the basics of using FLIR software. Of course, we've got the webinars, both for FLIR Tools and Thermal Studio, but some nice little shorter segments that I think people can take advantage of as well. I'm looking pretty good. I think I see some people dropping off. I think we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Anything you want to say, Paul, just to reinforce before we go, or?
No. As we said, as Jason has demonstrated, there's a lot of features to this program. Both Jason and I really like it, particularly with some of the other features that we didn't talk about today, like the batch processing and so on and so forth. So we will probably be doing some more webinars, some more mid-level and some advanced level webinars. So keep an ear to the ground, and hope to see you on another one.
Great. Well, I really thank you, both of you guys, for being on today and helping out with this. Appreciate it. All right, I think we'll wrap it up, everyone. I will be back tomorrow here with Ron Lucier. Ron's going to join me here at 11 o'clock Eastern for a Basics of Optical Gas Imaging webinar. You can register for that. We've got actually posted up on our Facebook page. You can see it there. We've also tweeted that out on our Twitter. Our Twitter handle at ITC Infrared. And then, of course, Facebook, facebook.com/infrared training. I think we'll be back next week with some more Thermal Studio webinars or software-related webinars with either Jason and Paul or both. But until then, hope to see you online again soon. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.